Well, the market at the high point of the day, 58 points on the Nifty, 205 points on the Bank Nifty. The mid-caps have underperformed today. The first sort of move after the recent correction has gone into the large caps. Perhaps that explains the kind of divergence that we have seen. Advanced declines still in favor of the declines. Ashwani and Mitesh with us for BTST calls. Ashwani, so today the buy on dip trade has worked. Both on the Nifty and Bank Nifty. But is there any point leaving longs open, or is there a different trade on the index? And what would be your BTST calls?
You can say that there are about 100 more points left, and because of all of this consolidation, you could have another second day on the upside, but maybe do it with lesser amount of volume. I think the way the market is picking up, there should be more on the upside. So having said that, Yes Bank is a buy with a stop of 264, target of 278. BOB is a buy with a stop of 129, target of 137. And IndusInd Bank is a buy with a stop of 1745 and look for targets of 1780.
Okay, all right. Those are Ashwini's calls. Mitesh, what are you going with now?
I had a BTST on Maruti. I think that's moved up slightly, but if you can get around 7160 odd levels, buy with a stop at 7120 for targets of 7235, and ITC is a buy with a stop at 292 for targets of 305.
Yeah, Maruti's moved up a lot, in fact, and that's been the trend with Maruti now for some time. In fact, just pull out a 1 week chart, a 2 week chart of Maruti, and from the lows of 6500, it's been a decent move on the stock. Now 65.18 thereabout was the low, then it tested that again after the sales numbers, and after that just one way move is what you have on the stock. 700 rupee move on the stock. It's almost 10% move that we're talking about. I don't know what the street seems to be pricing in, because it's been a rather decent move that we have seen. The other stock, by the way, which is moving after a long time and moving with some strength, is Tata Power. Just pull out that stock. That's making some move. Again, I don't know if this, there's always the CERC expectation. When will that happen? But that one's making a bit of a move. Anand, your thoughts on a stock like Tata Power?
Well, unfortunately, it is very heavily leveraged. So on a delta basis, you may find that if they do get a price increase, they will make less losses, but until and unless their UMPP gets sorted out and the coal prices get sorted out, etc., and they deleverage significantly, 40,000-45,000 crores of debt is not going to come down at the rate of more than 2,000-3,000 crores a year, which is hardly very encouraging. So from a trader's perspective, you may get a bit of a swing up, but not yet something that I would be buying unless you are looking at a 3-year view, in which case NTPC itself presents itself as a probably less controversial buy target.
Okay, interesting trends. So you have Yes Bank pushing a 4% gain. ICICI Bank has led this recovery from the front. IT names like Wipro also on the front foot. Wipro is actually looking at a 4% up move as well. So, Anuj, it's an interesting recovery and revival from the lows, and for what it's worth, we're at the day's highs now. Yeah. So, how do we read this turnaround that began at some point around 130?
I think for me, it's very clear. Today is just one of those days where, for me, it's been absolute copybook stuff. The point we made in the morning as well, if yesterday's lows defended, and now that the moving averages have caught up, the 20-day moving average, both on the Nifty and the Bank Nifty, risk reward wise, it's perhaps again turned in your favor. There's a good chance that, this is start of a second phase of buying in the market, so to be, because, now you have shorts back in the system. You had for last 2 or 3 days, and the market sort of moved on from there. And today we have easily outperformed the global markets. And with this is a market which is now factored in crude as well at around somewhere around 70, 71. Yeah. I think today's market move is very interesting. It's an important message that the market's given, that perhaps that correction that we had is ending at the 20-day moving average. Also, the point I was making yesterday as well, though, frankly, I was surprised that the market didn't really move the way I thought it would yesterday. Is that, if you saw the manifesto of the BJP as well, that was quite fiscally responsible. So I think that is also one thing. This morning, CLS had written a note on that. That, that it was...
There's not too much of populism, at least as of now.
Exactly. Yeah. So that way, I think that's also one thing which the market should have rejoiced. It's done that a day later. But for whatever it's worth, I think it's a start of a fresh move. And especially on the bank Nifty, when it's that was one index which didn't hit the new high. I mean, on the day when the Nifty hit the new high. So it's perhaps got some catching up now. But things looking good. The way PSU banks, private banks, everything is participating. The only missing piece in puzzle is the mid caps. I think that will happen if you have one more day of rally. I think when the mid caps will join it.
Okay, so it's an interesting turnaround afternoon of sorts. On that note, let's get you some more market opinion. As we're heading into elections and earnings, we caught up with Sridhar Sivaraman of Enam Holdings to get his take on the market. Now, he's expecting a mixed bag in terms of Q4 numbers. On the sectoral front, he's bullish on media companies and advises caution on NBFCs. Here's more.
Broadly, if you look at across the board, most markets are up 10-12%, a few barring here and there. So I think there's a catch-up trade for India. So India has their own issues. I mean, beginning of the year, some of the NBFC issues were plaguing the markets. Plus, we have an election coming by. So I think once the dust settles down, we'll see that India will participate far better than what it has participated right now. So we remain positive on the markets. We think this is a global environment which is conducive for emerging markets in general, and India would participate eventually.
Okay, your thoughts overall on the broader market. We had a big rally in 2017. Some part of it was cost of capital rally, some because, post demonetization, a lot of money moved into mutual funds. Then we had that sharp correction last year. You reckon we could have a outperforming broader market this year towards the end, second half?
Yeah, if I were to guess, I think the broader market will outperform this year. I think 2017 was an exceptional year. I think even some of the newer people who came into the market thought that they were better than Warren Buffett. And I think 18 was a reality check. So I guess it's good for the industry as such, because many people haven't seen cycles. So when you go through cycles, you know that this is something very normal, and you have to, insulate your portfolio to such events. So I think 2019 is going to be a fairly good year. When we end the year, we'll have more smiling faces than what we had when we ended the year of 2018.
How would you rate the earnings season that's just ended and the one that we are now in? Do you think that can spook investors, or do you think things are on the mend?
So I think the earnings are going to be mixed. So we know already that discretionary has taken a hit. And whereas financials may show slightly better results because of reduced credit costs that they will have. So I think the earnings are broadly priced in. I don't see too many surprises as far as earnings is concerned. What has also happened is that many stocks have corrected. If you take 1 year back prices, barring a bunch of 10 stocks, you take the rest of the market, they've had a significant correction. So your risk reward is slightly better right now, keeping a view that some of them may be a cyclical trough that you're going through. And it is up to investors to take a constructive view based on whatever assumptions you can make, and build a portfolio for the next 3-4 years. It doesn't mean that if you buy today, the earnings are going to come tomorrow, especially for a lot of the cyclicals and discretionary. But based on historical assumptions and data that you have, it always plays out well when you buy good companies when cyclically they are at a low.
Did I hear Maruti in between?
I didn't say much. I don't want to talk about stock specific, but auto surely is something that is worth looking at.
You mentioned that the NBFC crisis is something that is still a bit of a problem.
Right.
Do you think that could mean more market share for banks, and would you put more money to work in the banking space?
I think the writing is already on the wall that for a long-term sustainable business model, the NBFC model cannot sustain after a point of time. That if you cross 1 lakh crore of assets, it becomes that much more difficult. So I think the banks are in a sweet spot right now where NBFCs are really wanting to figure out if the business model is correct. The growth rate that NBFCs are having of about 30-40% is, I think, something of the past, and they'll have much more muted growth. As a result, the banks will have a good time. The other thing I hear from banks is that the pricing has improved. Because the NBFCs are so aggressive, they were actually, very aggressive on the pricing. So that has abated. So broadly, I would say it's looking good for banks in general.
What about discretionaries? I know you've said in the past that the best time to buy autos is during distress.
Yeah.
Would you buy the larger names like the Hero Motors of the world, or would you now get into the smaller auto ancillary companies?
So discretionary, we are bullish both on auto and auto ancillary because we think that this is a cyclical phase that they are facing. So when the autos go through cycles, the ancillaries obviously have this same pain. But we think that the cycle will turn maybe in 12 months, 6 months. We don't know the exact time. But a lot of them are trading at very attractive valuations. When you look at a 10-year chart and look at the valuations where they look very attractive right now. So discretionary, not only auto, even media, which also falls in discretionary, is something that we are quite bullish on because a lot of them are cash flow rich companies. And because of the fear of OTT and many of the other innovative changes that are happening, the valuations have come down significantly. And they have no debt, they have a brand. So I think that's the other part within the discretionary that we like.
Move it's been towards the highs, 11,683 on the screen as we are down to the last 10 minutes of trade. Sudeep Bandyopadhyay is with us, Group Chairman of IndiTrade Capital. Sudeep, this has been quite a stunning reversal since about 2 o'clock this afternoon. Would you say that the market's mood is again to move towards the all-time highs, maybe even higher? If that's the case, it was a very short and swift correction then.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we have to recognize the fact that there is significant amount of liquidity sitting in the wings even today, whether you talk about domestic or you talk about global liquidity. There were a little bit of concern when the global oil prices started going up because of Libya, Venezuela and other issues. And obviously when, the global uncertainties come, India definitely, doesn't look that attractive from a global investor point of view. But the moment the oil price started stabilizing, since today morning, yesterday evening kind of thing, things started again looking up, and the investors, both global and domestic, started again putting money back into the Indian markets. And I think that's going to be the story pretty much. Yes, we are heading into an election, and which is an extremely important event, but the fact remains that Indian market will continue to attract a lot of liquidity, and this will take the market to newer heights. We are having not a very great set of economic numbers, and in spite of that the market is moving up. But the market movement is an anticipation of things improving, and if those are delivered, I think we will definitely move to newer highs pretty frequently in the next 6 months.
Okay. Sudeep, good afternoon. Your thoughts on Maruti? Coming back to that stock again and again because of the kind of buying that we have seen over the last 1 week.
Anuj, I think, from an investor point of view, if you are believing in India's story, if you believe in India growth story, I think Maruti is definitely a must-have in the portfolio. And if you consider that Maruti is a must-have in the portfolio, then I think these are the opportunities when you get to buy Maruti cheap. And I think that's exactly what savvy investors are doing. At every opportunity they are buying in, and that's how Maruti is showing upward movement in spite of the fact that probably the numbers which are coming out and the results which they will declare will be not too good. But if the price comes down post the results, it will be again a great opportunity to buy. Indian growth story is secular. The chairman of Maruti has come on your channel and categorically mentioned that every time before election there is a dip in the numbers and dip in performance, but post election it picks up. We are also reasonably confident that the auto numbers will start improving from probably the second quarter of the current fiscal. If that's the case and the price available at what it is available now is attractive, why not buy now and and take the benefit when these things start improving?
Ashwani, I wanted your thoughts. Last week we were in agreement on this one that perhaps it's made some bottom. But what next? 6,500 to 7,200 for those who missed that move. What's the good entry point?
See, even today, this is a good entry point. Small 100-point corrections will happen. The 200-day average is still at 7,800. So that way the stock's oversold and it will easily go back to 10,000 because once it starts to run, it won't do these 100-point moves. It'll straight away do 150, 200-point moves because this is where, you know, funds want to accumulate large positions. So they're not letting anybody else get into the fray. Same with iShares. At 20,000, you know, it was done. Numbers will come with time, but I think even iShares could head to 28, 30,000.
Back to 30,000 on iShares. It's going to be some move really after a long gap, long time. Stocks doing well today. Okay, gentlemen, just stay on. We will quickly now dip in to the next leg of the conversation. This is the big exclusive. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says there is a BJP wave in the country. Speaking to Editor-in-Chief Rahul Joshi, Prime Minister Narendra Modi bets on returning with a bigger majority than even 2014.
मेरा सीधा सवाल इस चुनाव को लेकर, आप कितनी सीट बीजेपी और एनडीए को देते हैं 2019 में?
एक तो एक भी सीट मैं नहीं देता हूं, देश की जनता देती है।
नहीं, आपका
और 125 करोड़ देशवासियों ने भारतीय जनता पार्टी को विजयी बनाने का मन बना लिया है। भारतीय जनता पार्टी 2014 में जो सीटें मिली थी, इससे कई ज्यादा सीटों के साथ सरकार बनाएगी। हमारे जो एनडीए के साथी हैं, वे भी पहले से अपनी ताकत बढ़ाएंगे और कुल मिलाकर के एनडीए की ताकत आज जो है उससे भी ज्यादा बढ़ेगी। और जिस आत्मविश्वास के साथ, जिस समर्पण भाव के साथ हमने देश की सेवा का काम किया है, आने वाले 5 साल उतने ही कमिटमेंट के साथ, उतने ही समर्पण के भाव के साथ इस काम को हम आगे बढ़ाएंगे।
आपने कहा कि ज़्यादा सीट आएंगी पिछली बार से, तो अगर आप हिंदी हार्टलैंड में देखें कुछ स्टेट्स को, तो आप यहाँ पे अपनी टैली इससे ज़्यादा कैसे अच्छी करेंगे? उत्तर प्रदेश में आपके पास 73 सीटें, कहीं 26 में 26, कहीं 27 में 25, कहीं 25 में 25। तो इस तरीके से देखा जाए तो कुछ स्टेट्स में 178 में से आपको 168 सीटें मिली थी। तो ये इसको कैसे संभव होगा, इसको इससे ज़्यादा अच्छा करना?
अगर इसी आंकड़ों से चलते तो त्रिपुरा के चुनाव परिणाम को कैसे देखेंगे, जहां भारतीय जनता पार्टी का एक भी एमएलए जीतता नहीं था। आज त्रिपुरा के अंदर 3/4 मेजोरिटी के साथ हम सरकार चलाते हैं। अगर यही समीकरणों को देखते तो हम कभी आगे ही नहीं बढ़ते। हम 84 में 2 सीट पर थे और आज 2014 आते आते हिंदुस्तान में पहली बिन कांग्रेसी पूर्ण बहुमत वाली सरकार बन गई। तो मैं समझता हूं कि जो एरिथमेटिक है वो राजनीति और अरिथमेटिक का उस प्रकार का मेल नहीं होता है।
Yeah, that's been the stand of Amit Shah as well. Perhaps they might lose some seats in Hindi heartland. Can they compensate in Northeast, West Bengal, down south? That's of course the big question mark. We won't have to wait for too long. 1.5 months now left for 23rd May. We'll find out. Stocks. Just pull out some more names. Kajaria Ceramics is making a move. Bata is making a move. In fact, a lot of consumption names. Havells moving to the high point of the day. Then, of course, there's Tata Motors and Tata Motors DVR, where also we have high point of the day. But PSU banks like Indian Bank also moving to high point of the day. In fact, a lot of stocks. Just pull out Bajaj Auto as well once again. There's so many stocks bouncing back and rather sharply in the last hour of trade.
You know, even in the mid-cap screen, I mean, CG Power, Escorts, there are a lot of names, Anuj, suddenly that are stirring to life, you know, in the dying moments of trade.
I think this is the market's way of saying, look, you know, the importance of 20-day moving average in an uptrending market is very important. I mean, that's the basic technicals that I've learned. That, you know, if you test that and you bounce from there, that's a very strong signal from the market that the uptrend is intact, and if that is the case, then obviously you will have this kind of buying coming in. Even the mid caps have have recovered. They've underperformed, Surabhi, but my sense is just one more day like today, and you'll have the mid cap outperformance, which will be back, because you know, you just want to see once again making a move within 100 points of the all-time high. This time, if you take it out, it will lead to fresh wave of buying, and that would propel the mid cap, large cap, everything, I think.
Okay, we've got last 2 minutes of trade left. Sudeep, just a quick take now. We are seeing some auto stocks. Look at some interesting trends. Look at Leyland, for instance, today. Even Escorts, for that matter. Do you think the worst of the news is priced in? Would you go out and buy auto?
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Leyland. I think we have factored in the worst possible scenario as far as Leyland is concerned. We have seen slowdown in numbers. We have seen the CEO MD leave the company. We have talked about the axle load increase, which is going to affect the company's volumes. Pretty much everything has been factored in, and we have seen the slowdown actually. And the price we are seeing is after discounting all that. However, we haven't looked at the other end, which is the prospect, which is the new Basel norms getting applicable, this vehicle scrappage policy coming, pick up in commercial vehicle numbers post, the monsoon and post the elections. So none of those positives have been factored in. So somebody looking at a slightly, even medium term, I won't say long term, I think Ashok Leyland, current level, definitely good buy.
Okay, just let's recap the trade then. It was... well, a very strong bounce back from the low point. I think the Bank Nifty would have rallied some 500 points from the low point today, at least 400 for sure. The Nifty easily about 120, 130 point move from the low point. In terms of individual stocks, Yes Bank was up 4.5%, ICICI 2.5%. Banks got their mojo back today. Apart from that, Wipro, just keep an eye on that name, 4.5% higher on that stock. That's looking good. Coal India was up by 2.7%. Oil marketing companies saw some short covering bounce. Then the auto names, Maruti is seeing a lot of buying. Eicher Motors seems to be seeing some buying. Hero MotoCorp, Bajaj Auto, all of these stocks, in fact, ending at the highest point of the day. In fact, not too many losers today. Just about Indiabulls Housing, 3% down, and Asian Paints down 3% post that CLSA downgrade. Otherwise, just one way up, especially in the second half.
Absolutely. The mid-caps, yes, they did underperform, 30 points up on the mid-cap index. But again, there were no major losses here. In fact, towards the end, lots of stocks were beginning to bounce. Let's start with some of those names. Indiabulls Real Estate, on expectations of maybe some sort of corporate action, 12% up on this stock today. First Sources had a very good session, 5.5% up. Ashok Leyland, 5.5% higher. Triveni Engineering, almost 5% up. In fact, Sugar bounced back. Pull up Dhampur as well, 4% up on Dhampur. Let's see how Balrampur has closed out. After a big cut yesterday, a lot of these sugar stocks were back in positive territory today. DHFL has managed a 3.5% up move for itself. Tata Motor DVR is up about 3.5% as well. Some PSU banks, Bank of India, Union Bank, Canara, Allahabad Bank. Decent day for PSU banks, you'd have to say. The rally was still intact. Prestige Estates saw some interesting buying trends towards the end. About 2%, 2.5% up on that stock as well. So what was the problem then? What was the weakness? Lakshmi Vilas Bank ending on a 5% down circuit today. There's been, of course, weakness in some names like Sun TV, Rain Industries, Edelweiss Financial, Canfin Homes and Raymond. But as you can see, most of these losses are between 2 and 3%. So we're not looking at a big unilateral slide on any of the mid-caps that I'm speaking of as well. So not a bad day even for the broader market. Let's go back to the guests and take final thoughts in then. Ashwini, given the strength of this last 1 hour surge, what would your approach be to trade tomorrow?
So we've been in a 4 or 5 day narrow range. Now, early morning we'll find out whether the range expansion is likely to continue. Given that IT, banks, Nifty, everything is moving higher, my sense is that you should cross previous highs and a fresh round of expansion should start. But I hope the market gives you a dip early morning, because the last hour was fairly ferocious. So you don't want to get stuck at higher levels.
Okay, Mitesh, your call. Looking at today's big comeback.
So I think I've been maintaining that, we'll do this range, and I think we still don't have a signal of a range breakout. But yes, we've kind of tested the lower end of the range, 11,550. So maybe we'll make another attempt towards 11,740, 750, which for me, at least to begin with, would be a profit booking opportunity. But if we start getting past 11,780, fresh longs can be initiated. Okay,
fair enough. Sudeep, we've discussed a range of sectors and stocks, but tell us, anything fresh that's come on your radar now that the market's mood is back, the mojo is back?
Well, I think, Surbhi, mid-cap cement is something which deserves a relook. We've been bullish on cement for some time. We strongly believe that the price increases which the cement companies have been taking are for real and they're going to remain, and we may see some further price hikes. This was one of the biggest problems. Cement companies were not able to increase the price and the margins were getting squeezed. Now they have come out of that, and the scenario of demand looks extremely promising going forward. And particularly in North and Central India, the guys who have capacity are going to benefit over the next 2 to 3 years. So a Birla Cement Corporation, Heidelberg Cement, or for that matter, even the large guys who have capacity in North and Central India will definitely benefit, and they can be bought into right now.
Okay, all right. So cement is the pick. On that note, we'll wind it up for today. Thank you, Sudeep, for being with us. Ashwini and Mitesh, thanks to you as well. Markets done for the day, but there was one stock that was actually bouncing in an excited fashion towards the end, and that was Jet Airways. Let's now find out what the latest is as far as that stake sale is concerned. Ritu has, of course, got her ear close to the ground, and it seems some names at least are cropping up.
Well, yes, Surabhi, these are just potential bidders. No bids have actually been submitted so far. The bids opened yesterday and they will be closing tomorrow at 6 p.m. So far, nothing has come forward, but banks remain hopeful that typically, bids do tend to come in on the last day. So the potential bidders that we've been reporting on are one, of course, private equity players like TPG Capital. NIIF is also a potential investor, along with KKR, Indigo Partners. In terms of strategic partners, there could be airlines like Delta, Air France that lenders have reached out to, but of course they haven't committed to investing at all at this point of time. Qatar Airways is a new player we've heard is now also looking at Jet Airways, but will any of these players submit bids? That remains to be seen, but do remember banks are looking to sell anywhere between 32 to 75% stake. 32 because that is the amount of shares that is pledged to the bankers. They have yet to convert equity, so they do not own majority control, and therefore the new investor coming in will have to buy equity stake from the existing shareholders, that is Etihad and Naresh Goyal. Etihad also, of course, remains one of the interested parties, but we understand that negotiations are still underway and Etihad is yet to take a call on whether or not it will extend its stake to 49%.